Today we are talking about Ripple's acquisition of Fortress. I sometimes have a hard time on my F's too, but I think y'all have seen that it just kind of comes and goes. So you're just going to have to work with me here a little bit. So, the main news, other than me not being able to talk right, is that this acquisition is just their newest one in a number of acquisitions over the last 5 or 6 months now. But I think it's a really interesting one, especially with the timing of everything with this proper party on September 29th. They have judicial clarity that XRP is in fact not a security anymore. And this acquisition in particular is really interesting just because they concentrate on financial adoption of institutional money in the Web3 space. So let's get into it. Just a quick price check. We're just under 50 cents again. We've been losing a little volume over the last week. The problem with XRP is that even with these positive announcements, there's not much of an impact on price. My conspiratorial side makes me think that all of the elites know that it will be much more valuable, and that's why they don't really concern themselves with all of these individual announcements. But let's get back into the concentration here. So, XRP Crow, Ripple and its other subsidiaries collectively hold a New York bit license and more than 30 money transmitter licenses across the US. That isn't necessarily pertaining to the acquisition of Fortress here, but it is a point that I will make in a follow-up video after this, that their acquisitions in particular have positioned them in a way to once they get full institutional and enterprise adoption, or in order to get that, they are positioning themselves to have everything in place to do things the right way up front. So here's the one in particular to Fortress Trust. This is from old Brad Garlinghouse. He's excited to see how Ripple expands in the realm of crypto infrastructure services with the Fortress Trust team. They are a financial institution that provides Web3 financial, regulatory, and technology infrastructure. And he says that as an early investor in Fortress, we've had the chance to get to know the team, its vision, and its technology as well. We're excited to bring on this team and its technology to accelerate our business and continue pressing our advantage in the areas critical to crypto infrastructure. That part about pressing our advantage, I think, is the main point out of all of this. They are partnered up with all of the right institutions all over Earth, and they are positioning themselves relatively quietly to be able to come in and instantly turn things on. So, Mac Attack XRP, Ripple makes moves in expanding its regulatory reach with Fortress Trust acquisition. Again, regulatory reach. Now that we have not regulatory clarity, but judicial clarity on XRP, all of these moves are much more obviously valuable. So here's the article. This is from Ripple itself. It talks about a couple of other acquisitions and its impact as well, which I will cover a little bit more. But this is just the official announcement, essentially. So let's, and again, that's talking about a couple of other things, but this is just a very brief outline of the acquisition values that Ripple has acquired. I'll talk about this more in my next one, and I'll just move on here. So XRP drops. Who is Fortress Trust? We have the regulatory piece through our puzzle. The team has roughly 75 years worth of bank and digital asset regulatory experience. Under the umbrella of Fortress Technologies, there is Fortress Trust, a fully regulated, fully licensed, non-depository trust company with an innovative full suite solution for Web3 infrastructure. Fortress Trust wants to be the big name in that space. A lot of the team has a regulatory experience background, but in particular, the CEO Albert Faulkner spent as regulator 25 years. That's just not written well. 10 years as a banking regulator and banking commissioner in Wyoming. And if you have been keeping up with XRP over the last year, Ripple and other companies are actually interested in Wyoming to create their legal entities just because of the embracement of crypto and new technologies in the financial space there. So again, XRP drops. While we're on that topic of Wyoming, there's some other videos and content that seems like a significant move in their history to become one of the strongest regulated leaders of the newly created Web3 infrastructure. That's talking about Fortress. Albert Faulkner has 25 years experience, primarily as a Wyoming division of banking, state banking commissioner. That can't be right. Oh well. Blockchain-based payments firm Ripple Labs has a registered business in Wyoming, as I just alluded to. According to records from the Wyoming Secretary of State, Ripple markets Wyoming as a local business is written down as active after an initial filing in February of 2020. And they'll be in Cheyenne, Wyoming, which if you haven't been there, which probably 99.9% of you have not been, it's actually a decent town and it has a lot of money. More crypto companies are realizing that Wyoming is a more advantageous place to have your company than Delaware due to our crypto-friendly laws. Okay, so now we're going to get a little bit deeper into Fortress itself. So they are a custody and payments infrastructure team. Trust the Fortress team with your financial infrastructure and digital assets. So here's some pictures from their website. That's just off of the article. Here's the same one that I showed y'all earlier. So this is from fortresstrust.com. Fortress Trust was formed by leading crypto regulators, bankers, and blockchain experts to provide innovators with compliant financial infrastructure to build and scale the next generation of modern custody and payments infrastructure. And then on the next one, it just shows who they are working with here. I've got a little information on Aeon in the next video as well, but they're now partnered up with Ripple, and I would think that's obvious at this point. All right, so this is from Working Money, and I actually followed him on YouTube as well. I think he puts things together in a way that's a lot like mine, where it's relatively casual, but he just expands on a lot of stuff, and I'm going to follow Fortress.io while I'm here. All right, the COO of Fortress made an interesting remark in April of 2023. They can do everything a bank can do, but they aren't a bank. The next logical question is Ripple a bank? So I do have a clip of some things from that will expand upon it. But Who is Fortress Trust? Again, all MLTs. I don't really know that acronym. A silver member in the ABA, American Banking Association. They're providing banking, partnered with iTrust, which I have a little article here on. They are providing custody. And now that I think about this, I think that rings a bell because I heard the digital asset investor talking about this a while back, but I just didn't put two and two together until now. So let's watch this video for the comments.
I'm Judy Shaw for NYSE Floor Talk. Joining me today is Albert Fortner. He is CEO at Fortress Trust. And I also have Tom Michelina. He is president at Fortress Trust. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining me today. Wonderful to have you here on the floor.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here. Thanks, Judy.
Pleasure to have you. Now, before we get started, quick note to viewers, this interview is for informational purposes only. The NYSE doesn't recommend any investment or investment strategies. All right, so Tom, let's start with you. What's Fortress Trust?
So, Judy, Fortress Trust is a fully regulated, fully licensed, non-depository trust company. And we're part of a larger ecosystem that we call Fortress Blockchain Technologies. And under our umbrella, we have Fortress Wallet, which is a fully embeddable, white-labeled wallet. And we have Fortress NFT. So we're able to do your NFT minting. You combine that with Fortress Trust, and we are an innovative, full-suite solution for Web3 infrastructure.
Yeah. And the idea is this area is developing so rapidly, and we want to be positioned to be a leader in it and not a follower. So it's a heavy lift to have all of those under one umbrella, but yet we think it's worth it because really NFTs, tokenization is, I think, the next evolution of the internet, and we want to be a leader in that space.
All right, now, Albert, a lot of your team have a regulatory background. So tell me, how does that impact the way you operate your business?
Yeah, so I spent my years as a regulator, 25 years as a state banking regulator, the last 10 as the banking commissioner in Wyoming, which, if you're familiar with that, Wyoming was a leader and tried to be fostering to institutions that wanted to be in the crypto and blockchain space. And so from that, I was able to see the industry, the crypto blockchain industry, evolve rapidly. But part of that evolution requires a compliant manner. You know, the move fast, break things, ask for forgiveness, not permission mentality has shifted a lot in digital assets. And so when I came on at Fortress, I wanted to make sure that I had as much regulatory chops as possible. But I wanted to find team members that understood and know how to balance both innovation and regulation. You can't have one without the other. You get yourself in trouble, or you just freeze and don't get anywhere. and so we're building a team up. I've got some core colleagues with me that we have roughly 75 years worth of bank and digital asset regulatory experience. And I think that will position us to be a leader in the space, give us advantage. And then another part that's very important is because we have to have some strategic, tech-thinking, tech-forward bank partners. Someone like Tom, who's a career banker, coming on and managing those and establishing those relationships is also very important for us.
Judy, Fortress has a regulatory body within that nobody else has. We are unmatched in this environment, which is why we bring experts in like Albert and some of his folks that he brought along with him. So we're very blessed to have the regulatory piece to our puzzle.
I'm Judy.
All right, so I am obviously impatient. I play almost everything at 2x just because, I mean, I hope you do that for me too, especially because of my speech. But I also talk relatively slow because I am from Texas and I stutter. So that's an interesting combination. But on an ending note, I do want to expand on this in the next video, but so far in 2023 alone, Ripple has partnered with Montenegro's central banks. They have acquired a portion in Bitstamp, an exchange. They acquired Metaco as well, acquired a Singapore payments license. They were found that XRP is not a security after all, which isn't a shock. And they're still working through the final portions of that lawsuit that are mostly just at the point of the initial institutional transactions that happened for Brad and one other individual. I forget who it is off of the top of my head right now, but at this point, the asset is clearly not a security. You can see them making very large moves in order to position themselves to be the bridge currency, bridge value provider out there. They applied to the FCA in the UK for a crypto license in July as well, which is basically it seems like it's the equivalent of the SEC and or the CFTC over here in the US. And in September, they have acquired Fortress Trust, which I think is not the most interesting out of all of this, but it is the most unique because they are really concentrating on this regulatory clarity space, and they are not only acquiring companies, but they are acquiring individuals who have a lot of experience. So they are putting all of the pieces together in order to be the not necessarily a global reserve currency, because more and more I am beginning to think that might be more of XLM's role, but I think that XRP is more of the global reserve infrastructure than it is a currency. I think that XRP will be what a lot of things operate on, and then you'll have individual parts and individual assets that can do other things as well. But again, that's a lot of speculation at this point. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I am going to put out another one on the other acquisitions here on this page.